Inside of today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the best free counters to all of the meta brawlers right now. So about 10 of the top brawlers, I would say. We're going to be looking at the best brawlers to counter them. So starting off with Fang. So Fang is a brawler which is on everybody's lips right now because he is just absolutely insane. The buff to his super damage has actually made his fresh kick stop power just so incredibly broken. And he's one of the best brawlers by far right now. So the best brawler to easily counter Fang right now has to be Otis. So Otis is somewhat of a very underrated brawler in the game right now. He can shut down so many tanks, but especially Fang. Fang can't super onto Otis whatsoever because he'll just get muted straight away. So then Fang can't then stun the Otis, and the Otis can just secretly shred through Fang. And then next up we have RT. So RT is somewhat of a soft counter, mainly because Fang can't really super onto an RT, and of course RT can actually push Fang back once he has his super available just by that presence alone. And you know, after a few taps, Fang can get pretty weak from an RT. And lastly, of course, the biggest hard counter to any tank, Shelly. I could not mention it because, of course, Shelly is such a strong brawler in the game right now. But it's just no way that a Fang can really kill a Shelly, especially with the hypercharge and the band-aid stop power. The next brawler we're going to be looking to counter is Nani. The best free counters to Nani varies a little bit. So the brawler which I used to always use to counter Nani in previous metas has to be Jean. So the main reason why Jean is so good against Nani is because you can somewhat keep the range against Nani, just slowly chip them down. And of course, the return to sender gadget is going to get no value with Jean because, you know, you're returning what, 250 damage back to Jean. That's not really anything, so it can be pretty good just to waste Nani's gadgets. And just overall, Jean is semi-tanky, you know, he's in the medium hit health points, so Nani can't just one tap or cleanly kill Jean all of the time. So a decent soft counter. The next one is going to be one that you don't expect. It is Meg. So Meg is being used a lot in competitive right now to counter a lot of sharpshooters. You might be wondering why. It's because Meg can actually tank a lot of shots. Of course, she's somewhat tanky in that mech form, and then even if they kill you in mech form, they still have to tap you at least another few times in that smaller form, especially if you're using a shield star power. And of course, you can just tank every single Nani peep coming your way with Meg. And then lastly, Lola. So again, Lola is a brawler which is above, I'd say, the medium kind of HP threshold, so you can tank a lot of Nani shots. And then of course, once you get your clone as well, that can be pretty good as well. I just think it's overall good for pressure, so a lot of kind of medium health brawlers that can counter Nani. We have a really strong brawler in the game right now. We have a Buster. Everybody's talking about how strong he is, and these are the best free counters for him. So the first one is going to be El Primo. So of course, pretty much any tank in the game right now, El Primo is a fantastic counter. So again, he is actually rising in the meta because, you know, Buster and Fang are some of the best brawlers in the game right now. But yeah, Primo can just run all over a Buster, and even if you need to, you can just suplex them, super them. You know, Buster's just going to be constantly stun locked. It's really easy for Primo. The next one's going to be Rosa. So again, this is why Rosa's just getting even better, because brawlers like Fang, brawlers like Buster, Rosa can just run through them so easily once she gets her super. There's just nothing that Buster can really do. All you're really doing with Buster is probably prolonging your death. Your super does no value against Rosa. Your gadget's actually just going to hinder you even more if you gadget Rosa in. So yeah, Rosa fantastic. And then the last one's going to be Daryl. So back when Buster used to be very OP, one of the only few counters used to be Daryl, because of course you can roll through his super, and Daryl just deals more damage up close than better Buster. So of course he can win that interaction pretty easily. And another brawler that got buffed recently, and is definitely one of the strongest brawlers, it is Piper. So the best counters to Piper is actually going to be another meta brawler, which is Nani. So of course, literally for the longest time now in competitive, the best counter to Piper has to be Nani. Nani outranges Piper. You've also got the return to sender gadget, so Piper can't actually two-tap you. And of course, your Nani peep can just one-tap Piper pretty much all of the time. So that's just one thing to bear in mind. And also, if Piper doesn't use the shield gear, you can actually one-tap Piper with Nani now, which is just insane. So yeah, by far the biggest counter for sure. The next one's going to be Max. So of course, Max isn't the strongest brawler right now, but I think pretty much against any sharpshooter, Max can get a lot of pressure. It's just not only the brawler itself, it's of course the super and just the aggressive weakness that just really hinders any type of sharpshooter, because if you miss maybe 1 or 2 pieces of ammo with Piper, of course with that slow reload speed, you can easily capitalize on a really speedy brawler like Max. And then the last one is actually going to be Leon, so it might be a little bit of an underrated one. Again, there's a lot of meta picks they can just pick to counter Piper, but I want to go a little bit more underrated. So Leon's really good. I think of the shooting star meta where you can actually run the clone gadget as well to tank a couple of extra shots. But of course, not only that, once Leon gets close to a Piper, there's nothing that she can do. You'll just absolutely shred through her. So next up on the how to counter list, we have Shelly. So Shelly's been in this video probably like 5 times now, I would say, within the last year. So you can probably easily rewind back to another video, but if you did miss it, you could easily counter Shelly with a Nita. So Nita is by far the best counter for her. It's just really easy for a Nita to stay in the same similar range as a Shelly, and of course wall peek, eventually build up the Bruce Bear. Shelly has to waste ammo on Bruce Bear, and it's just so easy for Nita just to capitalize onto that lane. And then of course Ruffs and Spike are going to be very good at taking down Shelly as well. Ruffs with his sandbags, and just overall you can eventually break open the map. And of course that's the biggest weakness to Shelly, because of course she hasn't got unlimited range, so removing the walls just makes it a little bit easier to take her down. And then of course, as I mentioned, Spike. So Spike recently got a hypercharge buff, and then of course you've got the cactus that can tank a lot of shots against Shelly, and just overall you should be able to win that lane pretty comfortably with Spike. So now jumping into another brawler which has always been in like the top 10 rankings for a long time now, it is Squeak. So he's got back into the meta since the extra gadget charge gear, but the best counters to him, the first one is going to be Fang. So Fang, of course, one of the best brawlers in the game right now, but the main reason being is because Fang always has super right now, pretty much every single time, and Squeak just can't do anything against, of course, any kind of tanky brawler on him. But it must take Squeak like 4 or 5 shots to take down a Fang anyway. So what can he do against a Fang that has stun and just super on top of him? It's just the freest kill ever. The next one is actually going to be a little bit of a semi counter. So of course you can beat Piper on certain maps, but I think Piper is a soft counter to Squeak. So the main reason being, of course, Squeak hasn't got unlimited range, and then with Piper eventually you can break open a map with the super. I just think it's somewhat of a decent counter. It's not like a hard counter. I just think in the right matchup, I think you can definitely take advantage of that with Piper. And then the last one, again, it's going to be somewhat of a soft counter because it depends on the map. It's actually going to be Griff. So Griff is a fantastic counter to Squeak, because you think of certain maps in the game which can be really toxic for Squeak. Again, I always use Duel and Beetles, but that's where you see Griff against Squeak, because what you can do, you just literally pop one gadget on that little L shape, you'll break open the walls, so it's just a lot easier to push into a residue gadget, because without any type of wall break, Squeak's just going to get infinite value. So jumping into the next brawler we're looking to counter, it is a Rosa. So the first brawler which just absolutely destroys Rosa, it has to be Ems. So Ems just destroys Rosa because of course Ems can deal so much damage. You can slow down Rosa with the super, and then you can even knock back Rosa if needed. Of course, with that knockback gadget, Ems just always has shred through tanks, and that's just an impossible matchup for Rosa. The next one is going to be Frank. So again, this is a very underrated one. I didn't just want to go with the meta brawlers like Shelly, for example, because everyone knows that. So Frank is a very good counter to Rosa. The only thing you got to be a little bit careful of is the speed gear. Sometimes you can miss your Frank super against that Rosa, but more often than not, it's just such a free kill, especially if you're using the irresistible attraction gadget, which doubles your next attack. You can just shred through Rosa easily, and of course just keep the distance. It's just an easy matchup. And then lastly, it is Primo. So again, pretty much any tank Primo can counter, but the main reason why Primo is so good against Rosa is again because of the suplex supplement gadget, which you're able to throw Rosa around. Main reason being is because you can actually waste her super. So she'll pop her super, you can just use your gadget, and then Rosa doesn't actually have her shield for the amount of time she really wanted to. So then once her shield is down, you can take her down much quicker. So that's just the kind of play with Primo you can do. So next up on the how to counter list, we have Crow. So I won't bore you with a lot of these counters because you've seen them so many times already, so we'll go for it quick. First one being Spike. Spike can counter a lot of Crow shots with the cactus gadget, and then of course you can just kind of win that mid battle anyway because Spike can just deal more damage. The next one's going to be Nani. So this one's a little bit of a weird one because of course Crow has that extra movement speed which can dodge Nani shots pretty well, but all you need to do with Nani is hit one big shot and you're one shot Crow, which is just insane. So I think Nani is actually a pretty hard counter to Crow right now. And then I would say Bees. So typically when teams look to go Crow as a mid, on field goal for example, the other team will normally pull out a B because you can kind of win that mid engagement, and you can even use your honeypot to tank a lot of crow shots. So next up on the how to counter list, we have Tara. So again, another brawler which has been at the top for a while, so you should know the counters by now. We're going to run through it quickly. So the first one is going to be Sandy. So Sandy can shoot through Tara's pets and will win the kind of mid-battle engagement because Sandy's wall peeking capabilities is just so strong. It's such an easy matchup for Sandy, always has been for years now. Next one's going to be Buster. So again, Buster can just one-shot the pets, but not only that, again, the kind of mid-battle range, Buster can just wall peek a little bit better and just deal more consistent damage a lot of the time. So Buster has always been able to win that matchup. And then the last one is going to be Amber's. Again, Amber can shoot through the pets, can destroy the grass, which Tara really needs, and just overall a fantastic counter. So jumping into the final brawler we're looking to counter, it is a Gray. So you might have seen this before, but the first one is going to be Mr. P. So Mr. P is a fantastic counter to Gray because, of course, you got the porters to waste Gray's ammo, and just overall, you know, Mr. P can somewhat at least hold, I would say, in a 1v1 until he can get his super. The next one's going to be Tara, of course, pretty self-explanatory. With Tara, you have 4 gadgets now. You can just spam pets relentlessly, pressure Gray back. You know, Gray can't pierce through the pets, so it's just a really strong counter to him. And the last one is actually going to be a lot of aggression. Of course, Gray doesn't have the biggest damage output, so the first one, probably like Buzz, Fang, brawlers that can latch onto Gray pretty quickly, are going to be fantastic counters to him. So that's going to be it for today's video, guys. Let me know whether I missed out on any, but a lot of fresh new brawlers in the meta right now, which I really do enjoy. So yeah, that's going to be it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.